Audio check 1, 2. All right, looks good. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. We recently hit a pretty big milestone in our development of our next version of curriculum called Next Gen. So we've actually have in place in our development environment all of the components for our Next Gen authors to come in and actually build out our new version of digital curriculum, which is an interactive leader guide, which we call a session timeline. So what I have here is a session that I just added, and it's pristine. And we're going to start from scratch, and I'm going to walk through this. And this is my first time actually using our builder to build out all of the content for a session leader guide. So what I'm going to do is over on my other screen here, I have all of our prototype content. So this is the timeline. It's the interactive leader guide that we user tested, and I'm going to build out that entire timeline using our new builder, and it's going to have everything except section media. So we're going to be able to see everything. We're going to be able to preview it, and yeah, let's hop in and go ahead and get started here. So as you can see here, I have a leader guide, March 20th. No doubt I am known because God made me. That's kind of our go-to name here for our next generation curriculum. So looks like we're start off with a leader huddle. So we're going to go here to our first segment, and we're going to call that leader huddle. It's going to be for the leaders and for all leaders. And it's going to be, actually, we want this to be before the session. So the way that we're going to denote that is with 0 minutes. As far as segment type, it doesn't really apply here, so we're going to leave it on the default, which is craft. So I'm going to hit add segment here, and as you can see, I have a new segment here. It's been added in the menu, leader huddle, and it looks like this leader huddle is just going to have one section, and it's just kind of a list of things for leaders to go over, and then we're going to use a body section, and we're going to add that in, and I am going to grab all that text, and I'm going to paste it in here. And this is actually needs to be in an unordered list. Oh, boom. There that is. And as you can see, it is automatically saving as I update the content here in the session timeline. So after that, looks like we have another segment, and this one is called Arrival. And this is for a small group, and it's be led by a small group leader. It is 5 minutes. Again, doesn't really have a segment type here, so I'll leave it on the default. And as you can see here, it's now over here in the menu. It's 5 minutes total time. And this arrival looks like it just has a leader tip, so I can use the tips section. And first thing that we want to do is add a header called leader tip. We're going to put that in bold. I'm going to grab that text, and we do not want that part in bold. And yeah, so this is a leader tip. There are some options here, so I can actually switch it over to safety tip, and it changes up the styling. But we do want that to be leader tip to match up with the prototype content. That's all that there is in the arrival segment. That next one is called funny introductions by a small group and led by a small group leader. Also 5 minutes. This one looks like a game because it has a supplies list and some instructions and a script. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here. So like I said, it starts off with supplies. So we're going to use a supplies section. And so I can use that add supply button, and all we need for this game is a playground ball. We're going to use a game icon, and let's say 1 per group. And we're going to go ahead and add that in. And then it looks like we have some instructions. Looks like I lost some of the content over here. hold on here. Let me find out what that was. Okay, so yeah, so this is going to be an instructions section. So we'll start with, we're going to add a header called instructions, and then we're going to have some actual instructions there that will not be bolded. And that looks like it's followed up with a block quote section. So I'm going to grab that over here. And I'm going to hit block quote. I'm going to call that in there. Great. And then we have a conclusion here. And then we're going to remove that trailing line break there. So that looks good. And we follow that up with a script section. So this is to be read out loud by our small group leader. I'm going to grab that text. This is just plain text coming over here. So that looks good. That looks good. So as you can see, the content's starting to come together, and we can actually preview this, and we can see what this is going to look like for the admin. So I can come over here and I click on this preview button, and in a new browser tab, I can see what it's going to look like for the admin. So here it's 10 minutes so far. I have a leader huddle, and we actually, this includes transitions. So I can assess transition from leaders to small group. I have that arrival there with the leader tip. It says start session. And as I scroll through this, it's going to highlight where I'm at within the leader guide. And then I have my funny introductions with the supplies and that script that I just added. Looking good. So let's continue. Looks like we're going to be moving on to some large group activities. So looks like we have a welcome segment, and this is for a large group. It's going to be led by a large group leader. It is 5 minutes. We'll leave that on default since we're not going to be using it. And this is just one large script for the large group leader. So we actually do want to include that line break there. So that's all that is in this welcome segment. It looks like that's followed by our largest segment in this leader guide. So this is the Big Truth Bible story. And this is a lesson. And it's going to be 20 minutes, led by the large group leader in a large group. I'm going to add that. And looks like this has several scripts here to get started before we actually get to showing a presentation. So let's start with a script here. And these should be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to copy and paste, add another script. Again, I'm going to copy and paste. We don't have any of our media ready to go yet, so I'm not going to be adding those. But in a typical use case, we will have paired up slides or videos to accompany these script boxes. So looks like we have another script, and I'm going to copy and paste that. And then, we have we're going to show the video. So we're going to use this video section, which is it's a visual signifier that we want them to show a video. We would typically add a video here, but I'm just going to add a name for this video. I'm going to call it Big Truth. And I think that's all we'll need there. And then looks like we have a script section following the video. I'll copy that in, remove that trailing line break. That looks good. Okay, and now we have a verse practice section. So what we can do to add that is we can use a body section, and we're just going to handcraft this. So looks like we can do everybody say, and let's make that bold. Maybe. There we go. Everybody say, And we're gonna put it in a block quote, what we want everybody to say. And we're gonna unbold that. That looks good. All right, so that's our makeshift verse practice section. And then looks like we conclude the Big Truth Bible story with one final script, kind of an outro. So that's good. That's the Big Truth Bible story, all 20 minutes, moving along. So it looks like we followed that up with a dismissal to belong teams. Belong teams are small groups, but we're still in large group and we're going to dismiss them to the small groups. So this is just 5 minutes. And it looks like this just has one simple section that we can use a body section for. And it looks like we got some rich text here. So we're going to bold that. Might have a little bit of a bug there. We got crew leaders, we're going to bold that, and then be helpful and enthusiastic. Let's make that italic. All right, that looks good. That's all there is on that section. So now we're going to get into some small group activities. So the first one looks like learning through relationships. And like I said, this is a small group. It's going to be led by a small group leader. It's going to be 10 minutes. And let's call this a lesson. And so this looks like it's going to be questions and answers, kind of a discussion type of activity. But it is started with a leader tip. And we're going to add a header. This is actually called, it's going to be a list of tips. So we'll call it leader tips. And let me grab these tips here. And I can paste them in. We don't want them bold, but we do want an unordered list, and we don't want any trailing spaces. All right, so that's the leader tips. And then, like I said, we have questions. So this is a question and then kind of instructions to engage in conversation with your small group. So let's use body. And we're going to start with a header. We're going to call this questions. And I'm just going to copy and paste this first question. And let's do an ordered list. And it looks like they have some instructions after that. And I just want that to be regular text. So yeah, that looks good. Let's do another one. And it's a question. And then a follow-up. Let's make that bold. Then a third question. And more follow-up. And we'll make the question bold. And then it looks like we're going to exit that ordered list. And we just have some more help here, some more instructions. So that looks good. And then we conclude learning through relationships with the script section for the small group leader. I'm gonna copy that, bring it over here. All right, that's it for that segment. And then look like we have one final segment. That's going to be called Paper Mosaic for a small group, led by the small group leader. It's going to be 10 minutes. This one looks like a craft, actually, because supplies as a construction paper, glue stick, and scissors. So that is actually the first section, but it comes after a safety tip. So we're going to do a tip. We're going to make this a safety tip. And we're going to call this a safety tip. We'll add a little header. And this is just a call out that says, hey, be careful with those kids and the scissors. All right, so now we can add our supplies list. So no supplies added, so I'm going to use this add supply button. So this is construction paper in a variety of colors and skin tones. Let's yeah, I'll leave this on craft. Let's say 10 per group. Also require a glue stick, and let's say like 3. Actually, we'll just do 1 per person, so we have a lot of supplies. And then finally, we have scissors. We're going to tag this as optional, and maybe a few per group. So that's our supplies list. And then it looks like we were following that. We have a little bit of a preparation section. So we'll use a body section. And we'll add a preparation header. And let me grab that text, bring that in here. And we're gonna unbold that. Then we have a script section for the small group leader. And we're gonna bring that in. Looks good. And then we have more, we have actual instructions now. So we'll use a body section. Instructions. Let me grab that text, bring it over. And again, we don't want that part to be bold. All right, moving along. So it looks like this paper mosaic activity is concluded with another verse practice section. So we'll do like we did before. We're just going to use a body section here. And we're going to say, let me do everybody say, and let's make that bold. And then we're going to do a block quote. And we want them to say, we read along together. All right, so that's it. I think that's everything there. So we are up to 60 minutes. And I can scroll back to the top here. And let's give this a preview. Let's see what it looks like. So again, this opens up in a new browser tab. This is our admin preview. So now over here in the left menu, it includes the transitions for groups. So I can go ahead. I can see our leader huddle, which is before session. The transition here into arrival, funny introductions. And we transition into large group with a welcome activity, a quick introduction by the large group leader. And then we roll right into our 20 minutes Big Truth Bible Story lesson, which has a video, show the Big Truth video to everyone. Again, we will have all of our media over here on the left-hand side of the timeline. And then we've got some scripts here. We got a verse practice, dismissal to belong teams, and then a transition to small groups for some small group activities. And yeah, we got a list of leader tips. We've got questions and follow-ups, a conclusion there for the small group leader to read out loud. Paper mosaic, 10 minutes remaining. And then that's it. Let's add a little conclusion there at the end. I know we did have a dismissal to, where is that? It's after welcome. No, it's after the Big Truth Bible Story. We did have a dismissal to belong team. So I'm just gonna add a little something at the very bottom here, and it's just gonna be dismiss the kids. And we'll just make, small group, 5 minutes. And we'll add a body here. We'll say, that's all. That's the kids to their parents. And let's do some rich text here. All right. All right, so yeah, that was my first experience of building out a full session timeline in our new digital curriculum builder. Awesome.